notice how hard it is for us to be quiet. We live in a world full of noise, constant notifications, opinions flying around, everybody trying to prove something, say something, be heard. But let me tell you something powerful. There is a blessing in silence, a blessing so deep, so rich, so profound that if you ever learn how to be still, truly still, you'll begin to see that everything you're chasing starts chasing you. There's a reason God tells us, be still and know, not be loud, not be flashy, not be everywhere all at once, but be still and know. Some of the most powerful moments in your life won't be the ones that happen on the mountaintop with everybody clapping. They'll happen in the shadows, in the quiet, in those places where nobody's watching and no one even knows what you're going through. You don't have to tell the world your plans. You don't have to explain your pain. When you stay silent, you give God space to work. You stop competing with his voice. You stop drowning out his direction. Sometimes the reason you're not hearing from him is because you're talking too much, worrying too loud, trying to control what only heaven can orchestrate. Silence isn't passive, it's powerful. It's not the absence of action, it's the posture of faith. Faith doesn't always speak. Sometimes it just stands. Sometimes faith just holds its peace, closes its mouth, and lets God do talking. See, when you're truly walking by faith, you don't have to announce every step. You don't need to post every blessing or explain every trial. God knows how to show off in his own time. If you stay silent, he'll speak louder through your life than your words ever could. There are seasons where God is shaping you, but he's doing it in secret. You're crying in the car, but smiling in public. You're showing up to work while holding your breath. You're carrying burdens nobody sees. And in those moments, the enemy tries to convince you to speak out, of turn, lash out, give up, prove something. But hear me when I say this, don't speak too soon. Don't move too fast. There's a reason you're hidden. There's a reason God has you in this quiet place. He's not punishing you, he's preserving you. See, silence is sacred. It's where strategy is born. It's where your next level starts to take form. You think you're being ignored, but really you're being insulated. God is doing a private work for a public release. Don't interrupt it. Don't rush out of the womb of preparation into the chaos of exposure. Everything you're waiting for, everything you're praying for, it's coming. But it will come when you're ready, not when you're loud. And some of you have been praying for a breakthrough, but you keep talking yourself out of your blessing. You keep speaking on things before they've matured. You keep announcing what needs to stay in the soil. Let it grow in silence. Trust the process. Let God water it. He doesn't need your help. He needs your faith. And while you're silent, watch how the right people start finding you. Watch how peace begins to settle in your spirit. Watch how opportunities show up without you chasing them. That's what happens when you get quiet enough to align. You start to hear what others miss. You start to sense what others overlook. Because silence tunes your ears to heaven. It gets you out of your feelings and into your faith. It breaks the addiction to noise and brings you into the stillness where God dwells. Let the world talk. Let them assume. Let them doubt. You don't have to defend what God is developing. If it's real, it doesn't need a press release. If it's from God, it won't need your promotion. What he started in you, he will finish. Just stay in position, stay obedient, stay silent. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all about, have you ever watched the seed grow? Not just the part where the flower blooms or the tree stretches toward the sky, but the part we can't see. The part where it's buried, covered in dirt, pressed down by darkness. That seed, it doesn't complain. It doesn't cry out for attention. It just submits to the process. Because before anything can grow, anything can live out its purpose, it has to go through a hidden season. It has to break beneath the surface. Some of you are in that very place right now. You feel buried, overlooked, forgotten. You're doing the right things. You're praying, showing up, trying to stay faithful, but nothing's moving. Nothing's changing. And the enemy's trying to tell you that you failed, that you missed your chance, that your time has passed. But let me tell you something. You're not buried, you're planted. There's a difference. One is an end. The other is a beginning. One is a funeral. The other is a future. When a seed is planted, the first thing it does is fight downward. It doesn't reach up right away. It grows roots. It establishes itself in the dark. It builds strength where nobody can see. And that's where some of you are right now. God is building your roots. He's anchoring you for for the weight of the blessing he's about to release. He's preparing your character to match your calling. And just because it doesn't look like growth doesn't mean there isn't growth happening. Some of the most powerful changes you'll ever experience are the ones no one will ever witness, but it takes time. Growth is a process, not an event. You can't microwave destiny. You can't rush what heaven is developing. And in that time, you've got to resist the urge to dig yourself up just to see if anything's happening. You've got to trust the soil, trust the darkness, trust the silence. The seed doesn't question the soil that's sowing us to it. You want to rise, but can you be faithful in the dirt? Can you stay planted when nobody's clapping? When nobody's calling, when the spotlight is nowhere to be found? Because that's where purpose is tested. That's where faith is refined. It's not on the stage. It's not in the applause. It's down deep in the unseen, uncelebrated, unshakable place where God does his most intimate work. People see the fruit, but they don't see the fight that came before it. They don't see the prayers you prayed in the midnight hour. They don't see the tears that watered your soil. They don't see the sacrifices you made when quitting looked easier. But God saw it. God was there for every painful root that stretched and every layer of pride that had to be broken so you could go deeper. Because if your roots don't grow deep, your blessing won't last long. The taller the tree, the deeper the roots need to be. And this is why some people rise quickly and fall just as fast. They were never rooted. They wanted exposure without endurance. They wanted platforms without process. But God is not just trying to make you visible, he's trying to make you stable. He's not just working on your gift, he's working on your foundation. Because when the storm comes, and it will come, it's not your talent that's going to hold you. It's your roots. So don't despise this season. Don't curse the soil. Embrace it. Let it do what it's supposed to do. Let it break you in the right places. Let it stretch you. Let it humble you. Because what's coming will be so big, so weighty, so impactful. You'll be glad you took the time to grow slow. You'll be glad you let God plant you before he presented you, because when he brings you up, it won't be something temporary. It won't be a moment. It'll be a movement. And when that breakthrough finally shows up, you'll realize it wasn't that God was late. It's that he was working. He was digging deep. He was pulling out the weeds, making room, tilling the soil of your heart so you could handle what you were praying for. And when you finally bloom, you won't have to prove anything to anybody. The fruit will speak for itself. The growth will show up without your effort. Because you stayed planted when everything in you wanted to give up. You endured the dirt. You embraced the process. You let the root grow deep. Because growth always happens underground before it ever shines in the light. Let me tell you something that will set your spirit free. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every opinion needs a response. Not every invitation to chaos needs your RSVP. One of the most powerful things you can do in this noisy, loud, hyperactive world is protect your peace. And sometimes that means staying silent in the face of foolishness. We spend so much time trying to explain ourselves to people who aren't even listening with the intent to understand. They just want to debate. They want to pull you out of character. They want to drain your energy, distract your focus, and delay your purpose. But when you grow in wisdom, you realize that silence is not surrender, it's strategy. When you don't respond to every accusation, every rumor, every attack, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise enough to know that peace is more precious than pride. There comes a point in your life where you have to stop letting noise navigate your next step. Just because someone has something to say doesn't mean it's worth hearing. Some people talk because they're uncomfortable with stillness. They need conflict, they need drama. They need dysfunction to feel normal. But you weren't created to survive in chaos, you were created to thrive in clarity. And clarity comes when you turn down the volume of the world and tune into the whisper of God. Don't you dare give access to people who only want to stir up confusion. Don't let their insecurity become your issue. Don't let their bitterness become your burden. You've come too far, cried too many tears, gone through too much to be pulled into petty battles. This is not the season to be reactive. This is the season to be discerning, and silence is a tool of discernment. It gives you time to think, to pray, to listen, to wait. It keeps you from moving in emotion when you need to be walking in wisdom. You see, when Jesus was being accused, mocked, ridiculed, he didn't clap back. He didn't argue. He didn't explain himself. He stayed silent. Why? Because when you know who you are, you don't have to prove it. When you know what God has called you to do, you don't have to convince anyone. Silence is what you wear when you're confident in your identity. You don't let noise make decisions for you. You let peace be the referee. And sometimes you're praying for clarity, but you've got too many voices in your ear. Too many people trying to tell you what to do, where to go, who to be. And God is saying, if you would just quiet the room, I would speak. But you've got to turn down the volume. Unfollow the distractions. Mute the drama. Unplug from the chaos. Not everyone who's around you is for you, and not everyone who's for you has the authority to speak into your life. Be careful who you let advise your spirit. There are blessings that only flow in still waters. There are answers that only come when your heart is calm. And if you're constantly reacting, constantly defending, constantly chasing down explanations, you're blocking your own breakthrough. Some of you are missing what God wants to pour into you because your cup is too full of other people's junk. Empty it out. Get quiet. Create space. The right voices will always speak peace into your life, not confusion. Don't let people bait you into arguments that lead nowhere. Don't allow their drama to become your distraction. And listen to me, just because you're silent doesn't mean you're passive. Sometimes silence is a statement. Sometimes silence is how you let folks know I'm not on that level anymore. Sometimes silence is your boundary, your protection, your weapon. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them throw stones, but don't let it knock you off course, son. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your peace. You don't have to justify the boundaries you've set. If protecting your joy means being quiet and walking away, then walk away with your head held high, because peace is expensive. And you paid for it in tears and time and lessons. Don't give it away for free. The enemy knows he can't touch what's on your life, so he tries to disturb what's in your mind. He wants to get you so busy fighting battles that don't matter, you forget about the mission God gave you. But you've got to be smarter than that. Don't trade your destiny for drama. Don't waste your words on people who aren't even tuned into your frequency. Protect your peace. Guard your mind. Choose silence when silence speaks louder than words. Because not every battle is worth fighting, and sometimes your silence is the loudest victory. One of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn is how to wait. Not just wait in time, but wait in faith. Wait with peace. Wait with purpose. Because it's one to wait while complaining, pacing the floor, and worrying about what's next. But it's another thing entirely to wait and trust that what's meant for you will come not by force, not by manipulation, but by divine timing. You see, when something is truly yours, you don't have to chase it. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to compete to keep it. It will find you. It will fit you. It will flow to you. But we get so restless, don't we? So uncomfortable in the unknown. We want answers now. We want results now. We want the door to open right now. And when it doesn't happen on our schedule, we start to panic. We question ourselves. We question God. We try to force doors open that aren't ready to be unlocked. But let me tell you something, forcing timing will only create frustration. Rushing the process will only lead to regret. Sometimes the delay is not the enemy, it's protection. There are things you're praying for that you're not ready to carry yet. And that's not a rebuke, it's a reality. If God gave you what you asked for when you asked for it, it would crush you. It would overwhelm you. It would slip through your fingers. So he holds it, not to withhold it, but to prepare you for it. That's the beauty of divine timing. It's not just about the right moment, it's about the right you. The version of you that's disciplined enough to manage it, mature enough to handle it, whole enough not to ruin it. There's a rhythm to destiny. A timing that doesn't run on clocks or calendars. It runs on trust. It flows through surrender. It shows up when you stop trying to control everything and just allow yourself to be. To be still. To be faithful. To be present. When you learn how to stop striving and start surrendering, that's when things begin to align. That's when doors open without you knocking. That's when favor finds you without you forcing it. Because you're not forgotten. You're not overlooked. You're not behind. You're on heaven's time. And heaven's time is perfect. God knows what he's doing. He hasn't lost track of your prayers. He hasn't misplaced your miracle. He's preparing the place, preparing the people, preparing the moment. And he's preparing you. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. Just because it hasn't shown up yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. You have to learn how to walk with patience and trust at the same time. Patience that allows you to rest, and trust that keeps you from falling into doubt. Because sometimes what looks like a delay is actually a setup. God will let things slow down so he can speed up your character. He'll let you sit in a quiet season so you can hear him more clearly. And if you try to move ahead of him, you'll miss the lesson that was meant to prepare you for the blessing. Some of you all are looking at closed doors and calling it rejection, but it's really redirection. You're mad because it didn't work out the way you imagined, but God's protecting you from something that looks good now, but would have destroyed you later. Timing isn't just about getting what you want, it's about getting what's right. And sometimes you've got to grow into what's right. You've got to heal into what's right. You've got to evolve into what's right. So don't confuse movement with progress. Don't mistake delay for denial. Just because nothing's happening on the surface doesn't mean the roots aren't growing underneath. God works in the unseen first. He develops in the dark. And when it's time, when the moment is aligned, when you're ready, you won't have to force it. You won't have to fake it. You won't have to fight for it. It'll flow. That's why you've got to stay faithful in the slow seasons. Don't give up just because it's quiet. Don't walk away just because it's taking longer than you thought. Something is happening behind the scenes. And when it comes, it's going to feel like it happened all of a sudden. But it didn't. It happened in the waiting. It happened in your silence. It happened in the consistency nobody saw. And now the release is going to match the roots. So breathe. Relax your grip. Let God do what only he can do. Trust that your moment is not just coming as being customized for you. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove. You don't need to panic. Because when it's your time, you won't have to chase anything. Everything will come to you naturally. There's something sacred about quiet strength. The kind of strength that doesn't need to be seen to be real. The kind that doesn't show off, doesn't shout, doesn't demand the room, but still carries the power to change it. Real strength moves differently. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need attention. It knows exactly what it carries, and it walks with a calm confidence that silence makes even more powerful. We live in a world that confuses noise with authority. Everybody wants to be loud, to be first, to be the most visible. But just because it's loud doesn't mean it's true. Just because it's seen doesn't mean it's strong. There's a reason the lion doesn't roar when he's hunting, he stays low. He moves in silence. Because when you know who you are, you don't need to announce it. When you carry power, you don't have to prove it. And that's the problem with some of us. We've been too busy trying to prove our worth to people who were never assigned to understand it. Trying to validate our calling to people who never had the vision for it in the first place. But when God has called you, when he has anointed you, when he's planted purpose down deep in your soul, you don't have to convince anybody. Let them misunderstand. Let them doubt. Let them talk. You just keep moving in silence and let your fruit speak louder than your words ever could. Strength is not shown in how you react when people test you. Real strength shows up when you don't respond, when you don't clap back, when you don't lower yourself just to prove a point. You've got to be mature enough to let some things slide, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. There's a power that comes with restraint. There's an authority that shows up in self-control. And sometimes the most spiritual thing you could do is not respond. It's not that you didn't notice the disrespect. It's not that you weren't hurt by what they did. But when your purpose is bigger than the problem, you don't get pulled into pettiness. You don't trade your peace for temporary satisfaction. You don't let your emotions rob you of your assignment. Because every time you step down to address small things, you delay the big things God has lined up for you. You don't need to explain yourself in every room. You don't need to prove your intentions to everybody who questions them. Some people only understand chaos, so when you come in with quiet strength, they mistake it for weakness. Let them think what they want to think. What they don't see is the fire you had to walk through just to stand where you're standing. What they don't understand is the cost you paid to carry what you carry. But you don't have to tell them. The anointing on your life will make the announcement for you. Stop wasting time defending your destiny to people who don't even know your journey. Stop letting insecurity make you loud. You don't have to match their energy. You don't have to respond to their level. Let them stay noisy. Let them be messy. You stay focused, you stay grounded. Because your silence is not weakness, it's alignment. Some of you are tired because you've been spending all your energy fighting unnecessary battles. You've been pulled into conversations that drained you. You've been defending yourself in places where God already vindicated you. But this is the season where you need to stop talking and start trusting. Let your silence do the talking. Let your walk speak. Let your consistency be your testimony. Because the blessing that's coming won't need a billboard, it will be undeniable. The enemy wants you reactive. He wants you rattled. He wants you to be so busy proving your strength that you forget how strong you really are. But you've got to remember, power doesn't always show up with a shout. Sometimes it walks in quietly, sits in the back, and still shifts the whole room. That's you. That's the anointing on your life. That's the level you're walking into. You don't have to announce it. Just keep showing up. Keep being excellent. Keep honoring God in silence and watch what happens. Because when your strength is real, doesn't speak, it shows that sometimes the reason you feel anxious, overwhelmed, or even stuck isn't because something is wrong with you. It's because you're trying to force wind to flow. You're pushing, pulling, trying to make things happen by your own strength, instead of trusting that when the time is right, when the alignment is divine, everything you need will come to you naturally. There's a rhythm to the way God moves. And when you learn to move with him instead of ahead of him, life begins to open up in ways you never imagined. But let's be real, it's hard to trust the flow when nothing seems to be happening. It's hard to be still when everything in you wants to fix it, figure it out, and force the outcome. We're wired to chase, to hustle. We think that the more we push, the faster we'll arrive. But in the kingdom, the most powerful moments often come not through striving, but through surrender. It's not about how much noise you can make, it's about how much peace you can carry in the silence. There's a difference between movement and momentum. Movement can come from panic. Momentum comes from purpose. When you start chasing things that aren't meant, you might get results, but you won't get rest. You might gain things, but you won't roll through them. You can force your way into a relationship, a job, a spotlight, but if it didn't come from God, you'll have to keep it going in your own strength. And anything built in your strength will exhaust you. But when it flows to you, when it's God ordained and heaven sent, it'll come with peace. It'll come with clarity. You won't have to manipulate, beg, or compromise yourself to hold on to it. That's why some of you are tired, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. You're drained because you're living in resistance instead of rest. You're pushing doors God never told you to walk through. You're chasing people God already told you to let go of. You're trying to hold up something that was never yours to carry. But there's freedom in realizing you don't have to make everything happen. There's power in stepping back and letting what's meant for you find you. You've got to learn how to discern the difference between what's seasonal and what's sacred. Just because something worked in a previous season doesn't mean it's meant to follow you into the next. You can outgrow places, connections, habits, even mindsets. And if you're too busy forcing the old to fit into your new, you'll miss the natural flow of where God is trying to take you. He's not calling you to repeat. He's calling you to release. Sometimes that means letting go of what looks good so you can receive what's truly God. That's not easy. We like certainty. We like control. But trust doesn't operate on sight. It operates on surrender. And when you finally stop wrestling, when you finally stop trying to bend every situation into your will, that's when grace shows up. That's when alignment begins. That's when doors open, not because you kicked them down, but because God turned the handle himself. There is a version of you that flows in peace, that trusts even when there's no sign, that walks boldly without needing to see the entire map. That version of you doesn't panic in the pause. That version of you doesn't chase validation. That version of you doesn't shrink to keep others comfortable or strive to prove your worth. That version walks in a quiet confidence, knowing what's yours is already marked with your name and is making its way to you, even if you can't see it yet. Don't confuse the silence with stagnation. Don't mistake stillness for stuck. The current is moving, you just have to learn how to stop fighting it. Some of the greatest blessings in your life are going to show up not because you made them happen, but because you aligned yourself to receive. That's the beauty of divine flow. It brings what's for you with no sorrow at it. No chaos, no confusion, just clarity, just peace. So let the striving go. Let the forcing go. Let the performing go. You don't need to hustle for what's holy. You don't need to beg for what's been promised. You don't need to exhaust yourself trying to prove you're worthy. You already are. And when you start to believe that, when you start to walk in that quiet assurance, you'll find that life unfolds not all at once, but naturally, beautifully, and right on time. Because everything meant for you doesn't have to be chased, it will come to you naturally.